Here's a beautifully crafted song that's perhaps less well known than some of the songs I'm doing in this series, but it works really well for a single acoustic guitar. There's an electric band version that's released on the album, and then there's an acoustic version which is a solo thing. I think it's a guest spot on a radio station that you can find easily enough on YouTube. And my arrangement is going to be a kind of a mix or best of both of them. We've got 8 bars in the verse, another 8 bars in the chorus. There are a couple of linking bits. But before we start in, let's have a look at the general picking or strumming style that we're going to use for this song. He plays a single bass note on the first beat. I'm going to do this on a C chord, and then down and up on the second beat, and then a bass note on the third, and down and up on the fourth. Generally speaking, he's playing either an alternating bass or some other kind of arrangement where he's got a different bass note on the first beat and the third beat, but this kind of a thing. Okay, that's typical. Now later on I'm going to look more precisely at some of the things he actually does to give you a clearer idea of what you might do in the picking. But for now, let's look at the chords in the verse. We've got a C, heavy clouds, and then an F, hanging around, G7, and the sun, back to C, refuses to shine. I think he plays a 4-string F, or maybe a 5-string F. I'm just going to do a 6-string one with a bar, as easier for me. So the first half of the verse is heavy clouds all hanging around, and the sun refuses to shine. Now the second half of the verse, A minor 7. If you're bent on D minor 7, bringing me back down, G7, you better get in line. So that's A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, and back to C. So the whole of the verse is heavy clouds all hanging around, and the sun refuses to shine. If you're bent on bringing me back down, better get in line. Second verse likewise. Something I've said has got you so mad, you wanna give me a piece of your mind. If you intend on making me feel bad, you best get in line. It's great, isn't it? Okay, with an extra bar of C tacked on the end, we're into the chorus. F for a bar, and then half a bar of G7, A minor. Oh, it's a long line, it's a long line. I should say A minor 7. Then half a bar of F and G7, and back to C. It's going out the door. So all of that. Oh, it's a long line, it's a long line. It's going out the door. Now, again, F for a bar, half a bar each of G7 and A minor 7. You'll be waiting in line, it's a very long line. And then D minor 7 for a whole bar and G7 for a whole bar. Till your feet are sore. Okay, best try and learn that, get it under your fingers, but here it all is. Oh, it's a long line, it's a long line. It's going out the door. You'll be waiting in line a very long time, till your feet are sore. Into the next verse. That's the whole of the structure. So now let's look at some picking ideas. Now, I'm going to put the tab up for this, but this is based around the verse structure. Some of this you can probably borrow and vary for the chorus too. But, for instance, what he'll do on the first bar of C is this. So, bass note as you'd expect, pick, strum, and then he's going to take off the second finger from the 4th string and hammer it back on. Okay. Simple enough. For the F chord, okay, so here I've got my F on the 4th string. I am playing a 4-string F here to make this work. Back to the 4th, and then I'm stepping down on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, because the next note is going to be an open 4th string on the G7. Then I've got my G7, open 4th, coming down to the 6th finally. And then on the C chord, he's got this. I'm not sure he plays the 5th string too, but you know, if you're playing this on a single acoustic guitar, you probably want the roots. I've got my little finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string and off again, and then open 4th and back. So it's a C sus4, standard C, C sus2, back to C again. So the whole of those first 4 bars would be like this. Now the next 4 bars carry on in the same vein. For the A minor 7 we have exactly what we had for the opening C bar, which we had this. We're going to do this for the A minor 7. Again hammering on to the 4th string. Now D minor 7's kind of interesting because we have a pull off at the end of the bar onto the open 3rd string. That's kind of high, but it really makes the song. Okay, one more time. And then for the final C bar, if you want to be precise, he kind of reverses what he does at the beginning. Hammer on first, and then bass note. So the whole of that. Okay, so the whole thing is made up of verses and choruses. In fact, there's an intro, which is just the 8-bar structure of the verse. Every so often he crams an extra bar of C or G7 in to link up the passages, but if you listen to the original, you'll pick that up easily enough. I'm just going to play you the final verse and then the outro. What happens here is the verse is extended by 4 bars. It's the second 4 bars of the verse are just repeated with different lyrics. Then we have the outro, which is the intro / verse again, those 8 bars. And that's instrumental, but then he picks up with the voice in the last 2 bars of that. So here's the final verse, extended, outro, and the end. Never meant for your flowers to wilt, or to sour all your sweet wine. If you mean to shower me with guilt, better get in line. If you're crying over milk that's spilt, take a number and wait in line. Better get in line. And that's it.